Are Christians supposed to follow the laws of the Old Testament? Does the Bible really say that you can't wear clothing with 2 different types of fabric on it? And that you can't get tattoos? If so, are Christians just whimsically picking and choosing what Bible verses to follow? You'll often hear it argued like this. Person A, gossip is a sin. Person B, yeah, well, so is shaving your beard. The idea that we can't take these rules literally. On the opposite side, some Christians use the Old Testament laws to argue their points without realizing how inconsistent that this is. So, what's the answer? Let's break it down fast. Short answer, Christians followed the New Covenant, not the Old Covenant, as in not the 613 Old Testament laws of Moses. If we follow the New Covenant and not the Old Covenant, then the question isn't really, why don't you follow all of the Old Testament rules? It's, why do you follow any of them? The short answer is that we don't follow them because they're in the Old Covenant. We follow them because some are also repeated in the New. But wait, before you get mad, that is a way oversimplification. Jesus, after all, did say that he didn't come to abolish the law, but to fulfill it. So, let's dive deeper. The Old Contract, or the Mosaic Covenant, included 3 types of laws. We had ceremonial laws, rules about sacrifices, food, worship, and these were to set Israel apart as a nation of priests. It was about their job, their vocation, and their calling as a nation. Number 2, we had civil laws. These were laws governing Israel's justice system as a theocracy and a nation state. And then, 3, we have the moral laws. Universal right and wrong, like do not murder, do not steal. These represented God's character. We don't follow the civil laws because they were specifically meant to govern Israel's society. We don't follow the ceremonial laws because Jesus fulfilled them. Example, in the Old Covenant, sacrifices were made to cover sins, but Hebrews 10:1 says these were only a shadow of what was coming. Jesus, the perfect sacrifice, took sin once and for all, so there's no longer a need for animal sacrifices and purity rituals. But what about the moral law? Now, this is where it gets a little more controversial. The moral law still applies because it reflects God's eternal character. It wasn't just for Israel, it existed before the Mosaic law was given, and Jesus repeats a lot of it. Jesus didn't remove the moral law, he fulfilled it and drastically changed our relationship to it. Galatians 5:14, the entire law can be fulfilled in one command. Love your neighbor as yourself. Jesus revealed that the heart of the moral law was always love. If you love your neighbor, you won't steal from him. If you love your brother, you won't kill him. If you love God, you won't worship idols. Sounds simple, but there was a major problem. See, the laws weren't given in a vacuum. They were given in a story. The story? We see God give the first set of laws. Have no other gods before me. What comes next in the story? That's right. The golden calf. People making another god. He gives more rules, and then we get more stories about how the people again picked rebellion until finally Moses gives this final speech before they're about to enter the promised land. And he basically says to them, I know that you are not going to be able to keep these laws because of the hardness of your heart. You are going to need a new heart to follow them. Ezekiel 36:26 talks about a new covenant that would come to take care of this problem. God will make a new covenant with the people. I will give you, what? A new heart and put a new spirit in you. Jeremiah 31:33, I will write my laws on your heart. Jesus said, follow me and I will give you a new heart and a new spirit. He showed us what real love looks like by dying in our place, and he wooed us into a new type of relationship with God. See, before Jesus, people tried to obey, but their hearts were hard and they had the nature of a sinner. But now Jesus makes us righteous, both legally and internally. Romans 8:3-4 says what the law could not do, God did by sending his son so that the righteous requirement of the law might be fulfilled in us. We are now legally righteous. Jesus took the curse of Adam. He took the curse of the law upon himself. He took our punishment. He lived a perfect life. He fulfilled the requirements of the law so that, get this one, the blessings that were promised on the law for obedience could be poured out on the nations. We were justified, put in right standing with God since our debt was paid. We are no longer judged by our own sin. We are also internally righteous. He makes us a new creation. He gives us a new heart, like the prophet said, so that we naturally become more like him and like his spirit that he places inside of us when we believe. Abiding in Christ produces fruit. The old covenant was about following rules, but the new covenant is about transformation from the inside, not based on our own merit, but based on God's grace, which makes us righteous through the work of Christ. Instead of striving to follow these external laws, God writes his law on our heart, Jeremiah 31, and he gives us a new spirit, Ezekiel 36, and he shapes us into his image as a natural step of our new identity. We don't obey to earn his love. We become more like him because we are loved, and his love transformed us. We are now able to love like him and fulfill the heart of the law because we have been loved by him.